Okay, we're about to dive into a story about a kind of suffering that is so often completely invisible. It's about a husband's silent trial, a struggle that, as you're about to see, stays hidden for a really devastating reason.
So the story really starts with this one single, brutal fact. This isn't just about a bad week or a rough patch in a relationship. We're talking about years of abuse, and it's all been endured in total silence.
And that's really the central question here, isn't it? It's not just about the abuse itself. It's about the silence. Why does this kind of profound suffering stay completely hidden? That's what we really need to get our heads around.
So let's start by unpacking the nature of this silent trial. What exactly is this hidden reality that he's going through all by himself?
This right here, this really gets to the heart of his suffering. On one hand, the source talks about hidden scars, which is pretty clear evidence of physical abuse. But then, on the other hand, you've got this invisible, crushing weight of years and years of emotional abuse. Both are just devastating. And the thing is, he's carrying it all completely alone.
And that brings us to the most crucial question of all. If things are this bad, why the silence? What is stopping him from just speaking out? This question is the absolute core of this entire story. It really forces us to look past the physical side of it and see the psychological barriers, these invisible walls that can be just as strong, if not stronger, than any locked door.
And there it is. That's the answer. The real heart of his struggle isn't just the person abusing him. It's this deep fear of how the world is going to see him. This fear of being judged as weak, of failing to live up to some kind of societal expectation. That right there, that's the invisible force keeping him trapped.
So what's so important to understand is that this fear creates what we can call an internal prison. It's this psychological barrier, right? It's built from all these social pressures and his own personal fears, and it effectively stops him from reaching out for the help he so desperately needs.
But eventually, something has to give. He finally makes a move to break free, not just from the abuse, but from that internal prison he's been in. What he finds on the other side, though, is a whole different kind of cruelty.
His attempt to escape plays out in 3 just devastating steps. First, there's the decision. After all those years of suffering, he finally tries to leave. Then, the outreach. He takes this incredibly brave step and actually asks for help. But that leads to the discovery. The system, the people he turns to, simply isn't built to believe a story like his. His absolute deepest fear is about to become his reality.
Okay, let's look at how this all builds to the final and maybe the most shocking obstacle he has to face. I mean, it's one thing for a system to fail you, but it's something else entirely for people to just turn on you.
Just think about that for a second. Think about the amount of courage it must have taken to finally speak up after years of silence, only to be met with this. The source is very clear. The reaction wasn't just disbelief. It was active, cruel ridicule.
This chart just shows the gut-wrenching gap between what he needed and what he actually got. Just look at this. On the left is what any victim needs, right? Belief, support, safety. But look at the right. That's what he got. Instead of belief, he was treated like entertainment. Instead of support, he got mockery. And instead of safety, he was met with laughter.
The source material describes this outcome in the most direct, most painful terms you can imagine. His personal tragedy, his desperate plea for help, was turned into a spectacle for other people. It's the ultimate betrayal. So, after this entire terrible ordeal, what's the ultimate takeaway from this man's silent trial? Where does this leave him, and what does it leave us to think about? Well, after everything, the years of abuse, that internal battle with his own fear, and the final betrayal of public mockery, there's no resolution. He is just left to carry his burden, completely and totally unheard by anyone who could have actually made a difference.
And that leaves us with this final, really challenging question. It forces us to think about our own role in all of this. Are we creating a world where a plea for help is met with belief or with ridicule? Because if we aren't willing to listen, then who carries the truth? The weight of stories just like this one will simply continue to be carried in silence.